Let's take now a look at network encryption. Now we've looked at file encryption, and we know that file encryption basically encrypts files while they're on your hard drive or on a portable media. In other words, these files are at rest. They're stored. Now network encryption actually is the opposite. It involves encrypting data as it moves across networks. And when we say networks, we're not only talking about networks within your organization, within your work or business, or even your home, but also across the biggest network in the world, the worldwide internet. Now what happens is network encryption involves sending these files from a sender to a receiver, whether that sender or receiver is on two different computers in the same room or across the world, because as we know, the internet is made up of many different links, and we can send data across different other links and networks, so we want that data to be secured. Some examples that we use network encryption for include sending secure emails, such as encrypted emails, sharing files or folders across the internet or a network, or using file transfer protocol, or even using websites for secure transactions, such as a financial transaction or even logging into a secure web server. Encryption basically helps us keep data safe by preventing it from being intercepted by a third party, by an unauthorized party, because once it's intercepted it can be easily read or even modified and retransmitted, so they've changed it, or it can also be destroyed during this process. Now we're going to talk about several different methods and technologies that we use to encrypt data across the network or over the internet, and we'll touch on several of these, but let me tell you a little bit about these technologies. They provide for data encryption, which we call confidentiality. In other words, we don't want anyone to see this data except the person who it's intended for. Technologies also provide for non-repudiation or authentication. What that means is, using encryption technologies, I can ensure that if person A says they sent me something, then I can verify that person A did and it wasn't actually person B, or vice versa. Data encryption technologies also make sure that data is not modified during transit. This protects what we call the integrity of the data. This makes sure that nobody changes it. For example, if I sent to you an invoice for $5,000 and someone intercepted it and took off a zero to make it $500, well, then you'd get an invoice that says that you owed me $500. Well, that data has been modified in transit. Now, these technologies can provide for two different kinds of encryption over networks, and we'll talk about both of those in a moment. They can provide for link or session encryption, but they can also provide for point-to-point encryption, in other words, encryption between two particular computers or two particular devices. They can provide for encryption within a network, or even what we call virtual private networks, or VPNs. And these are basically private encrypted networks that use the internet as a big connector, a big medium. So I can have a private network on one continent and a private network on the other continent, and they can be connected using an encrypted link, and basically they function as one giant private encrypted network. Now, some of the methods we'll talk about include secure sockets layer technologies, or SSL, IP security, and we'll even mention hardware encryption devices a little bit. So with that, let's go ahead and move on into our discussion a little bit more in depth on network encryption.